What happened when the Ottoman Empire collapsed, because of European desires to see the Ottoman Empire collapse, was a takeover of the Middle East by European interests and then by the United States. And that's when these boundaries, many of which are artificial, many of which have no real relevance to the historical situation in the Middle East, came into play. Terrorism put the political issue, put the Palestinian issue on the political map. It was airplanes being blown up and people in Germany at athletic events being killed. That's what put the Palestinian cause on the map, not intellectuals, not writers, not people appealing for justice and conscience.
People still believe that if promises are made, promises are meant to be kept.
The continuity of American disingenuousness in dealing with the Middle East, the continuity
Mark,
of American...
you don't need to go back to America. Look at the Balfour Declaration and look at Lawrence of Arabia's promises to the Arabs during the First World War. So we promised the Arabs complete independence for all their states in the Ottoman Empire, and then...
And this week, Professor Chomsky goes on and explains that the process is also an attempt to give Ahmed a seat on the bus.
Israel reacted differently. They reacted by bombing Lebanon.
1, 2, 3, 4, genocide, no more!
Violence in the Middle East, demonstrations at the Israeli embassy. As we make this series of programs, the Middle East is in fact exploding.
Just stepping off in about 10 minutes. I'll let you know. Completely forbidden.
So without further ado, Gene Bird, thank you for coming on our program.
Thank you, Mark, for inviting me.
Agreements that have been made in recent months.
Well, you've actually sort of made a few observations here. First of all, I have always been in opposition to the policies of the PLO.
American media demands fair play for Arafat. You know that something stinks to the high heavens, the New York Times, and you know that something is wrong.
They called the 1919 conference the Paris Peace Conference. But in reality, the Paris Peace Conference was the peace to end all peace. They carved up the Middle East into artificial regimes. Kind of accommodation in which this nuclear arms race that we're going to be talking about can maybe be prevented. Very much, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for coming. And we're here to discuss the case of Musa Abu Mazruk, who many of you have probably never heard of, but who's the political leader of Hamas.
The Israeli state will evolve further. There is no constitution at the moment. But unfortunately, the idea of a two-state settlement, which is what most of the world has been debating for the last couple of decades.
Okay, your occupation is finished. You want to leave your island with Salam. Your occupation is finished. We are not going to surrender.
Screen, you can see the flicker of fire. That is the conference room in which up to 50 people are being cremated as you watch that video.
Wish to express my heartfelt fraternal welcome to you all.
Lebanon was invaded in 1982.
The second level of domination is the Israelis, of course, and in a sense there's a third level of domination, American domination of the region. Their armies are used to fight against their own people.
Clinton and his friends do not represent the interests of the American people, they represent the interests of the transnational corporations.
In 1971, the major turning point in Middle East diplomacy took place, the absolutely major one. You can tell how important it is by the fact that it has been totally wiped out of history.
Israeli rubber-coated metal bullets claimed over 24 Palestinian casualties. This time, however, Israeli blood spilled as well.
Thus, many advances that women in Iraq have made in recent decades have been set back, and opportunities have been lost, in many individual cases, forever.
Of course, it was just a few years ago that there was a massive war in the Gulf. Iraq has been destroyed. There are still sanctions against Iraq. I hope that at the end of this program you'll understand the Israeli-Syrian-American situation much better.
And it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce Mark Bruzonsky.
Allahu Akbar. These words that reverberate at this time.
Bruzonsky, producer and host of this weekly program, Mideast Realities, and I've been fortunate to have visited the Middle East region over 150 times.